Welcome everybody to another episode of the Cody Miller Show, brought to you right here on my YouTube channel. I'm your host, Cody Miller, and today we're gonna be taking viewers' questions. Every week here on my YouTube channel, I do a Wednesday vlog. I drop a vlog, me swimming, me doing all kinds of things in the swimming world every single Wednesday, and you guys like to ask me lots of questions, and I like to answer those questions, and that's all we do here on the Cody Miller Show. It's me answering viewers' questions. Most of them swimming related, sometimes not swimming related, but I mean, whatever you guys wanna ask me. When I ask for questions on Instagram, shoot them off in there. That's the best way to get your question answered. I'm working on the format of the show. I want to try to make it more formal, make it more engaging. It's in its primitive stages right now, but I'm working on it. So without further ado, let's get to some of your guys' questions. And the first question comes to us from, by the way, I want to apologize. When I read these names, I will butcher them. I'm not very good at that sort of thing. I'm trying to get better. I'm working on it. The first question comes from Yonarubin. See what I'm saying? Yonarubin. I don't know how to pronounce it. I don't know. I'm sorry. He asks, at what age did you start lifting, and what differences did you feel in and out of the water after racing? Okay, so in as far as lifting weights goes, I started lifting weights when I was in high school at around age 15. I lifted sophomore, junior, senior year of high school, but I never lifted super heavy. In high school, it was more of like a mild strength and conditioning program, but the focus was on teaching proper lifting mechanics. So teaching proper Olympic lifts, teaching things like proper hang clean, so that when I got to college and I did start lifting heavy and I did start lifting more, I wasn't gonna hurt myself. That was the biggest thing. I don't think it's super important that you lift really early on. I don't think before high school, but at the same time, I think everybody's different. Every single person's different. I know, and it totally depends on your body. I know some distance swimmers just straight up don't need to lift weights. It's just not necessary. A lot of them don't. Some of them do. Like some of the best Olympic swimmers do lift. Like Connor Yeager, a buddy of mine, you know, an Olympian from Michigan. He lifted and was a strong guy in the weight room. But as far as the difference I felt in the water, I just feel stronger. You know, particularly pushing off the wall. You know, particularly on explosive movements like pull downs and snapping a breaststroke kick. There's definitely a lot of benefit to that. But I don't think it's super crucial prior to high school that you lift weights. I do think that there's benefit in learning proper lifting mechanics, but I do think the two go hand in hand. Okay, great question. And our next question comes to us from Grace_1219, who asks, did you ever do any other sports besides swimming in high school? Not in, well, sort of. In high school, I wrestled a little bit my freshman year, and to my surprise, I was actually a pretty good wrestler, mostly because of my swimming background, I had a lot more endurance than the average athlete or the average high school kid. And so I could just kind of grapple back and forth until the other person got tired. And I really liked wrestling, actually. But I wasn't allowed to do it because I wasn't, you know, because we knew how good I was at swimming, and we knew that swimming was probably going to pave the way for me to go to college. So ultimately, I chose not to wrestle because I was probably going to really hurt myself. That was the only thing formally. When I was young, I played soccer, I played t-ball, I played a lot of sports when I was younger. And I grew up skateboarding. Like, I love skateboarding. To this day, I still have skateboards in my garage. I've got, you know, 2 longboards in there. And one day I'll skate again, but not right now. I'm not willing to risk hurting myself right now, as I'm still trying to competitively swim. And our next question comes to us from SwimRay24, who asks, what movie are you most looking forward to coming out this year? I love movie questions because you guys know how much of a movie fan I am and a Harry Potter fan, hence the room I'm sitting in. There's a lot that I'm looking forward to this year. I mean, obviously off the top of my head, it's Avengers Endgame. That comes out in 2 months. And in just a couple weeks, Captain Marvel's coming out. So I'm super excited about that. Those are just the first ones that come off the top of my head. I mean, you know, you've got Star Wars at the end of the year, Episode 9. I'm excited for that. I could really go off topic and rant a whole lot about that, but we'll try to keep it to swimming right now. Great question. Thank you for asking. And our next question comes from Adam.Zuli. Yeah, I'm just gonna call you Adam. Adam asks, how can you deal with getting lapped, and how do you overcome a bad session? So he's asking getting lapped, like in practice or in meet, or overcoming a bad session. I will tell you this. Sitting before you as an Olympic swimmer, we've all been lapped. I have been lapped. I've been lapped in workouts. I've been lapped by people who are beating me. It happens to everyone. So understanding that, I hope, can kind of lessen the blow a little bit, knowing that it happens to everyone. It's okay. And overcoming bad sessions, that's another thing. It's just, that's a part of sport. That's a part of progress. That's a part of growing. You're always going to have workouts and sessions where you struggle, where things don't necessarily go your way, where you wish you could have done better. And I think that the best way to handle that is knowing that is a part of the process, and that you have to utilize that as a stepping stone, right? Oftentimes you can still take away good things from workouts that you might initially see as not so good, or as failures, or as not achieving whatever you were shooting for. But I think that, it's important to kind of look at the workout as a whole and break apart little pieces and say, okay, maybe this wasn't perfect, but I did really well on this. And just understanding that, keeping yourself grounded. You can't get too caught up in one single thing. And that's hard sometimes. Like sometimes you want to be on, you want to, feel like everything's going your way. You want to only focus on the big end goal. And when you have a little misstep, sometimes it casts a little bit of shadow of a doubt. But that's kind of my piece of advice. Not that I'm very good at giving advice, but that's my piece of advice. Great question. Okay, and our next question comes to, I love this. This question comes from Maddie TJ Martin, who asks, opinions on pushy parents in swimming. Do you think the kids last in swimming? And if so, is it worth the trade-off? Okay, this is a delicate question. As far as pushy parents, or what I like to call helicopter parents, every case, you have to understand that every case is individual and different from one another. So you can't lump all of them in together. But everyone knows what I'm talking about when I say helicopter parents, parents who are on top of their kids all the time, all over them, and really pushing them. And look, I'm not gonna pretend to know how to parent. Like, I'm not a parent. I'm not gonna pretend to know how to raise other people's kids. All I can speak from is from my own experiences. And for me, like, my mom doesn't know a whole lot about swimming, for better or for worse. She just doesn't. She trusted my coaches when I was swimming club, when I was young, trusted that they knew what they were doing. And there were times when she forced me to do things that I didn't necessarily want to do. Like, she did kind of force me to go to the pool here and there, but ultimately it was kind of left up to me. And I don't think that you can just put a label on everything and say, this is how to do it. You can't. My opinion on parents who are super, super pushy, like I said, I think it's a case-by-case thing. Everybody just wants what's best for their kids. If I was to give a piece of advice, and once again, what do I know, right? Like, I don't know how to raise kids. I don't know how to parent young swimmers. But if I was to give one piece of advice, I would say you have to walk a fine line between trying to motivate them and pushing them and telling them what to do, and then also allowing them to make their own decisions. And that sounds so much easier said than done, and I don't really even know how to do that. That's just like kind of what I think, because I think for me, my mom struck a good balance of, kind of making me feel guilty if I wasn't going to do something, but then also not really harping on it too much. You know what I mean? Does that make sense? So that's how I feel about that. I don't know if that's helpful or not, but yeah, my mom really doesn't know a whole lot about swimming still, and it worked, and we're okay with that. Thank you for asking that question. And our next question comes to us from Alex Everson. Yeah, Alex Everson, who asks, what's your next swim meet? I'm leaving for Iowa next week to race at the Tier Pro Series meet in Iowa. And I'm super excited about that. Blake and I are rooming together. Got the 100 breaststroke on Thursday, which should be good. I'm excited for it. I will be shaving my beard. It's gonna go away. It's gonna be gone. Thank you for asking. Alex Everson also says, will Annie Laser be in more of the vlogs? Definitely. Annie has been a little bit of a saving grace for me because Annie's not an IU grad. By the way, Annie won world championships last December. Literally won gold in the 200 short course meter breaststroke at world championships just a couple months ago, which was super cool and shocked everybody. And so she's killing it. She's swimming crazy fast. She's on track to just keep winning. But you know, prior to now at IU, you guys see in the vlog, we've got a lot of pros training with us now. You know, we've got 15 professional swimmers training with the IU team now, most of whom are IU grads. But I've got Blake now. Ryan Hell just moved and is training with us. You know, we've got a really great group. But for a long time, I was really the only post grad training here at IU. And there are times of the season when the college team is tapering for various meets, and their yearly schedule is very different from my schedule because once again, I'm not swimming in college, so I don't have a dual meet schedule. I don't have the same championship season schedule as them. So for a few years, there were times of the year where there was a month at a time where I was pretty much swimming by myself for the most part, right? And that isn't the case anymore. I never have to do workouts by myself anymore because I've got all these other pros with me, and it's awesome. And Annie particularly, because we do a lot of the same workouts, particularly breaststroke practices. I never have to do a breaststroke practice without someone. And she works really hard, has a really good attitude, and so having her around is super, super helpful. So yes, to answer your question, she will definitely be in the vlogs more. She's awesome, she's great. Gotta love her. Okay, thank you for that question. And our next question comes from Zach Thiek. Once again, sorry, I butchered these names. Zach asks, differences between sprint breaststroke and distance breaststroke. For instance, an Adam Peaty breaststroke versus a Daniel Girta / Watanabe type of breaststroke. Oh man, I could get I can make a 30-minute video talking about this. And it is fascinating seeing the evolution of breaststroke, the changes of the stroke and the progression over the past few years. For the longest time, the fastest breaststrokers were the ones who were certainly the most efficient, but also had really long strokes, more of a glide phase of the stroke, more of a slower first quadrant of the pull, and a lower stroke count. And now the times are kind of changing. Right now, breaststrokers like Lily have much higher rates and have much higher stroke counts, and they're kind of sustaining that. So you're staying up above and on top of the water more than a traditional breaststroke where there's a lot more underwater phase of the stroke. Neither one is better, right? Obviously, the fastest swimmers in the world right now have a slightly higher tempo and a higher rate. But man, I'll tell you what, Daniel Girta, that dude, his stroke is beautiful. And for those of you who don't know, Daniel Girta was the Olympic gold medalist in the 200 breaststroke in 2012. But he's got to be one of the greatest breaststrokers to ever live because he was one of the best breaststrokers in the world for like a decade. I mean, I believe he won a medal in the 2004 Athens Games when he was young. He's not that much older than I am. So he was a teenager and he won, I think, either a silver or a bronze medal in 2004. And then he got fourth in the Olympics in 2008. So he missed the podium in 2008. And then he won gold in 2012. And from like 2008 to 2013, I believe he won every major international competition in the 200 breaststroke, be it long course world championship or short course world championship. I'm nerding out real hard. But he was so good. So good. And I believe he's recently retired, but his stroke was really, really long and a very low stroke rate. And now we're seeing a guy like Watanabe, the Japanese breaststroker, who also has a similar stroke, but his last 50, particularly his last 30 meters, he's really tempoing up and he gets to, 1.2 tempo or 1.1 tempo, which is really fast for the end of a 200. And the progression of that stroke is just kind of crazy. I hope people watching this don't mind me nerding out about swimming, but it is quite wild. What I will say is this: I believe, and this is just my opinion, I believe that the type of stroke for a breaststroker is somewhat predetermined by your structural anatomy. So let me rephrase that. I believe that your stroke is somewhat predetermined. So what type of stroke you should have is somewhat determined by your anatomy. So some people, like Annie, for example, just does not have the capability and the body mechanics and to sustain a super high tempo rate of breaststroke over a race. Like, she just can't do it. So Annie's tempo is like 1.5, 1.6, really long glide, but she's super, super efficient. And that's because it's got a lot of factors, but I believe that part of that is her anatomy. I believe that's part of her build, is what allows her to do that. Whereas someone like Lily, I think that her body type and the stroke design of her kick and the mechanics of her pull allow her, because of the way she's built structurally, allows her to swim at a higher rate at a higher tempo. So what I mean by that is just some people can sustain that rate and swim fast, but then some people, like someone like Annie Laser or someone like Danielle Geerta, can swim at a lower rate, spending more time underwater, spending more time in the glide phase, equally as fast or just as fast as people with a higher tempo. That's the fascinating thing about breaststroke, is that everybody's different. Everybody's different. And I tend to have a bit of a lower stroke rate. So like my race tempo is like a 1.2. So that means every time I finish my kick or every time my hands shoot together, so one stroke cycle takes 1.2 seconds. Whereas a guy like Petey is taking one stroke cycle in less than a second, like a 0.9, right? It's just fascinating. I could talk about that forever. I hope that you're okay with me nerding out a little bit about breaststroke, but that's kind of my thing. I could talk about that forever. Okay, moving on. I don't want to spend too much time on one question. Let's see. Our next one comes from Rose Gold, who says, I literally saw Blake on Worlds in China and was too shy to go and take a picture. Really regretting that now. Oh man, you should have asked him for a photo. Any one of us, Blake, Lily, me, whatever. If you guys see us, ask. Like, we don't mind. It's not like we're true celebrities. I have a lot of kids telling me that I'm famous. I'm not famous. People in the swimming world kind of know who I am because I'm a pretty good swimmer. But like outside of the pool, like we're like totally normal people. So, I mean, getting asked for photos and autographs and stuff is, number one, super cool. It's a privilege to have that. It's weird, like I'll probably never get used to it, but don't feel shy to do it. And I remember that feeling because it wasn't that long ago when, I've told Matt Grievers this story before. I told Matt the first time I saw him at a swim meet, I was so nervous and I really wanted to take a picture with him, but I didn't. And now like I've been on world championship relays and won medals with him, and it's cool. It's just kind of funny looking back, like how that all worked out. So one thing I want you to understand is that every Olympic swimmer that you look at and think, man, like I want to take a picture of that guy, or like, man, that guy's really fast, those thoughts that you're having about them in your mind, they have had the same thoughts about other people. So like we get it, like we know. Like I feel very humbled that kids want to take photos with me. It's really, really cool. It's an honor. And I remember what it's like being that little kid, right? Like that's a really special thing. So yeah, next time you get the opportunity, ask Blake, take a photo, do it. That's part of the thrill. That's part of the fun. Okay, Lisa asks, when's the next podcast coming out? Also, will Margot ever be on it? Yes. I'm committing to doing this show, the Cody Miller Show, once a week. I haven't committed to doing a podcast every week yet. I need to get more regularly on that. It's a little bit more tough scheduling podcasts because I have to actually make time for people to like come to my house. I have to set up the mics. There's a little more work. Whereas like with this, I can just be like, okay, I'm going to do this. I don't need anybody else. But yes, to answer your question, Margot's totally going to do the podcast. We're going to do it. I was literally talking to her about it yesterday. I think after our Iowa meet, I'll get a solid podcast with Margot. Thank you for asking. The podcast is available everywhere. I mean, you can listen to it on YouTube, but it's also on Spotify, iTunes, Google Play, all those types of things. Thanks for asking. The next one isn't a question, it's just a comment from Yuri Pavlov. This just made me smile. It says, everyone needs a Cody on a Wednesday morning. Thank you for sharing that. That makes me feel good. It means like I'm doing something good, and that is what it's all about. That's what it's all about. Okay, next question comes to us from Will Y, who asks, quick question. So Coley trains sprinters and Mike trains middle distance and distance guys. Does Ray only coach the breaststroke group? Ooh, good question. So here at IU, our middle distance group is predominantly run by Coach Westfall. He's the guy with the goatee, the really stern looking dude. He's like really tough and intimidating until you get to know him, and he's kind of like a big teddy bear. Coley, who you've seen a little bit in the vlog, he's the sprint coach, so he coaches straight up the sprinters. I swim in the sprint group a couple times a week now. It's really fun. And then Ray coaches the breaststroke group, but Ray doesn't just coach breaststroke. Ray coaches the breaststroke group. He also coaches the IM group, and he coaches a little bit of middle distance. As far as workouts that he writes, so Ray writes 2 breaststroke practices a week. He writes, I believe, the 400 IM set each week, I believe, and then sometimes middle distance, and then sometimes there's a lactate set, so we do a sprint lactate set on Wednesdays. Sometimes he writes that. So Ray kind of floats around, but he does have a specific group, and it's the IMers and particularly the breaststrokers, and we've got a lot of them. Just last week here at Women's Big Ten Championships here at IU, we had 8 girls in the top 16 in the conference in the 200 breaststroke. 8 girls. I've never seen anything like that before. Half of the A final and half of the B final were from IU out of the entire conference, and it's a good conference. So Ray's group is absolutely killing it, and that was a really, really cool thing. Okay, next question. Oh, this is more of a comment. JR says, Ian said you keep your GoPro in your suit while you're swimming. True. Sometimes if I'm swimming and I'm vlogging and I've got my GoPro on me and I'm done with it and I need to and it's in the middle of a set or a rep and I need to keep swimming, I will literally just stick my GoPro in my suit. So now you know. Now you know that I keep my GoPro in my suit sometimes. Yep. I usually stick it off to the side. It's not like it's on my butt or anything, but like it's on the side of my hip. That's kind of where I stick it. So now you know. Next question comes from Tom, who asks, has Ryan Held moved to Indiana and joined the pro group? Yep, he has. You've probably seen him in the vlog now. You'll be seeing him more often. I swim with him. He's my buddy, man. He's the man. For those of you who don't know, Ryan Held is the, I think probably the most famous photo from the most recent Olympics is a photo of the men's 4x100 freestyle relay. Nathan Adrian, Michael Phelps, Ryan Held, and who was the 4th? Who am I missing? Oh, and Caleb Dressel. Duh, obviously Caleb. So Nathan, Michael, Ryan, and Caleb. And on the podium, Ryan is the kid crying. So he's the younger kid crying, and Michael has his arm around him. It's like a super iconic photo. That's Ryan. Ryan's the gold medalist from Rio. He swam at NC State, and now he's training here at IU. And it's awesome. Okay. And our next question comes to us from Special Dumplings. Special Dumplings Lose. That's a good name. Asks DC or Marvel. Okay. DC or Marvel. So as far as the movies go, I mean, I think the Marvel movies are better than the DC movies. I like the DC characters more, but their movies are not as good. And I don't believe it needs to be an either or. Like, why can't we like both? Like, we can like both, right? Like, it doesn't have to. I love the comic book movie genre in general, and comic books in general. I mean, I have a whole bunch of comic books on my shelf right now. I mean, I loved the Batman comic books when I was growing up. Okay, and let's see here. And our last question of the day comes to us from K_Ayla_28, who asks, how do you think USA Swimming got to where it is today? Great question. A good question to end on. So there's no doubt, no dispute that USA Swimming is the most dominant team in history, the most dominant national team in history. I mean, the last Olympics that I was fortunate enough to take part of was the most successful team in history in anything. More Olympic medals, more records, more world records had been set by that culmination, that group of people. My dogs. Hey! I'm trying to finish a show here. I think Allie just came home and the dogs are going crazy. It's the most successful team in history. And USA Swimming, every year, whatever the biggest meet is, be it a World Championships, be it a Pan Pacific Championships, be it whatever, they're generally the best team. And I think there's a few reasons. Number one, the obvious, it's our size. We have one of the largest swimming bodies. Now, we have the largest swimming bodies in the world. So, like, we have more swimmers registered swimming for USA than anybody else. There's no question that can even match us. There's no doubt about that. Hey, I'm trying to do a show here, and you're interrupting. Well, they go crazy. I've got 5 minutes left, and the dogs just go nuts.
They just wanted to be a part.
Yeah. He looks so cute. Okay, give me 3 minutes. I'm wrapping up the show right now.
I suppose I can do
And there's no edits, so they're literally gonna see this.
I suppose.
Okay, goodbye, love. Okay. So from a numbers standpoint, we have the most athletes. So if you have the most athletes, there's a higher probability that the better athlete, that you're gonna have more good athletes, right? So that's like an obvious answer. But the real answer, and the biggest thing I believe, is that we in the United States have a huge emphasis on team culture. And we're one of the few countries who puts a team emphasis on the sport of swimming, which is somewhat viewed as an individual sport. And that's one reason why I love NCAA swimming, I love college swimming. I think having conference championship meets, all those types of things really foster what USA Swimming kind of comes. Dang it. Can you get out of here, please?
We're just trying to get her toy.
Oh my gosh, Allie. You're killing my train of thought right now.
I tried.
This is not professional at all.
I tried to crawl.
Get out. You're such a... Can you see her?
We needed the toy.
Oh my gosh.
We've got to go. Ow!
Allie, you're killing me right now.
She bit my finger trying to
Oh my gosh. Back up. My wife is killing the show right now. Imagine if I was live streaming this. Like, I could edit this out. I'm not going to, because that's not the plan. If I was live streaming this, how embarrassing. Anyway, USA Swimming puts a huge emphasis on team. You know, growing up in a club environment, we were trying to win meets. And we've got a lot more opportunity for swimmers, a lot more competitions, just everything we have an abundance of here in the United States. And that is what allows us to be definitely the best swimming country in the world. And it also helps that we've had some of the greatest athletes, right? Like, we had a Mark Spitz who helped usher in a whole new era of swimming. And then we had Michael Phelps who helped usher in an even larger era of swimmers. You know, people watching guys like Aaron Pearsall win medals at the Olympics and it being super popular. You know, swimming every Olympics, every cycle is the most watched sport. And it's because Team USA is so good. And so it's just kind of a cycle. And it's really cool. Like, it's really cool to be a part of. It's really cool to watch, and we're fortunate. But I also believe that it's not enough. Like, I think we need to do more for our sport. I think we need to continue to grow the sport. I think we need to continue to give more opportunities for swimmers. We need to find new ways to make it fun, find new ways to engage in younger people, because we want it to grow, right? I think there's like 350, 400,000 registered swimmers within USA Swimming right now, which is good. It's higher than it's ever been before. But we want it to keep growing, right? Like, we want it to keep growing because for me, it's special because it's swimming has given me everything. It's given me family, it's given me friends, it's given me mentors, it's given me coaches, it's given me father figures, all of those things. And like, for me, I kind of want to give back, so I want to help the sport, right? And that's part of the reason why I do this YouTube channel. It's part of the reason why I make these vlogs, is I get something out of that. Like, I feel like I'm kind of giving back, and it's obviously it's fun for me too. But yeah, I think that's the biggest reason. It's that emphasis on a team culture. It's really, really interesting watching some of the foreign swimmers move to the United States and train with the Indiana college team. And they're all of a sudden they're immersed in this crazy, wonderful team-oriented culture that then fosters a really high level of competition. And it's fun. Yeah, we're almost at 30 minutes, so I think I'm gonna wrap up this video. Once again, I'm working on the structure of the show. I'll try to improve it. I'm gonna eventually get to live streaming it. That's what I really wanna do, is be able to kind of take live questions. But for now, this is how we're doing it. I don't know if you can hear Allie, she's being silly right now. As always, make sure you guys are following me on social media, @SwimMiller on Twitter and at Cody Miller on Instagram. Vlogs every Wednesdays, podcasts semi-regularly, and the Cody Miller Show. This is going to be a weekly staple. I'm going to be doing this once a week, so send in those questions when I ask for them. And thank you guys. Until my next video, I will see you later.